Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Football, it began simple enough. Line up 11 men on one side, 11 on the other. The team with the ball is the offense. The team without it is the defense. Snap the ball, you run, you collide, and you tackle. But now football is much more. No longer just a game of brawn, it's also a game of brains. This is Bear Necessities.
Good morning, Barroom Network Barflies. I'm your host, Jordan Silveira. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Welcome to Bear Necessities. We have a busy show today. I admit I'm on a little bit of a tight schedule. We're going to try to make this about an hour long. Got some other engagements to go through, but we're going to have a busy show. So let's just get through the prerequisites early and we'll get right into it. As always, you can find me at Jordan T. Silveira on Twitter. This is Barroom Network at Barroom Network on Twitter. Aldo Gandia, our president of Barroom Network, at Aldo Barkeeper on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as well. This is Bear Necessities, a show that we talk about all of the Bear necessities for the Chicago Bears, the ones that we all love. Today, we're going to be going over some film clips, particularly the San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers, week 3 of the 2021 season in Santa Clara, California. Next game that we'll be talking about as well in Santa Clara, California. Of course, this game is being played in Chicago, so not everything translates, but we'll find out a little bit of some fun stuff because, ultimately speaking, there is some talk about Chicago weather, potentially including some rain for tomorrow. So we will see if that translates. But second game being Colts, the Indianapolis Colts versus the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara week 7. So we'll be just jumping into that right away. This will be relatively free talk. Feel free to go ahead and join in, include your comments. As I said, tight schedule, so I'm going to try to work through and balance them as best as I can. That being said, I'm just going to be talking about the keys to how did the Chicago Bears find a way to deliver victory to all of us fans in what is considered to be an unwinnable game by most in the media. So let's get right to it. So we're going to start here with, let me see if we can get this going. I guess I can share that screen. And of course, as always, trying to beat the YouTube algorithm. If for some reason it faults in any ways, just feel free to go ahead and leave a comment and I will make it work. So share screen. Perfect. So you guys should all be able to see that. And then as we fun. Gonna get my epic pen. Let's see. Okay. Do I have to? Okay. As we go here, let's see. I always wish we could try this on the road. There we go. Forgive me, I know this is awful podcasting. So I try to get this. There we go. I can move that around. That helps. Okay, first play here. This is actually the toss for national media. Yes, Chris. So as we go through this is the first play of the game. You can see first quarter, 15 minutes. As we review this, just quickly kind of showing ultimately how we're going to look to hopefully see the reason you're seeing this game. I guess that'd be helpful to tell you what you're looking at. Is the reason we're doing this is because, sure, Luke Getsy, offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, is not Matt LaFleur. But naturally, it's safe to assume that Matt LaFleur would be a heavily influenced individual, ultimately Luke Getsy would be heavily influenced by Matt LaFleur. And so let's see how this San Francisco 49ers defense responded to the Green Bay offense. And then vice versa in the second game, we're going to look at ultimately how the Colts defense, led by Matt Eberflus, handles this 49ers offense by Kyle Shanahan. I understand there's some individuals, Chris saying George Kittle's out. We'll talk about some of that as well, but just wanted to kind of show this. So this is actually your first play of the game. This is Aaron Rodgers ultimately playing games with the safety. They're utilizing motion, and I just want to show how you'll see those safeties rotating. This is going to be important for Justin Fields as he's a young quarterback. Let's try to use, and I expect a ton of this. This is one of the keys to winning the game. Use a ton of pre-snap motion, Luke Getsy. Let's try to identify the coverage and potentially anybody that may be coming off hot, anybody that may be a potential threat to help Justin, Lucas Patrick, or Sam Mustipher, whoever's the center is, setting the protection and then IDing the coverage to see, can we get a benefit of understanding, is it man, is it zone? And so you're going to see that right here. As we go here, you're looking through. So you'll see right here, let me draw it up. You've got your safety right here. Watch this as he all of a sudden, you're going to believe, I'm trying to remember, I think he may be your motion man coming back and forth, but we will show you that in just a second. But really, I want you to focus on that safety that I've circled, as well as you'll see how Aaron Rodgers plays with them to get an understanding. And just off the jump, how much safety rotation are we going to be doing? And so this is where, here's, so sure enough, we have our motion man coming across. You'll see, and so as we go back here, we've got Jaquiski Tart. So forgive me, circled the wrong one. Jaquiski Tart is your strong safety in the scheme. He transitions back, and he's ultimately going to wave the other safety. He's ultimately going to wave the other safety down as he comes in motion. You're going to see Rodgers motion him right back over, and Jaquiski Tart is going to come back down and follow. So you're going to see, let's see. So let's go ahead and play this out. There's that second safety coming down. Then they're swapping back again. They're actually snapping in the motion. And so you're hoping to get bodies moving as well. But that's just an example of, in my opinion, let's help our young quarterback out. Let's help Justin Fields out. And I think that pre-snap motion, identifying that coverage, seeing those safeties rotate will be helpful. Moving along, this is the third play of the first drive. So we're here. Right. So this is, as I've got my little notes here, this is a cover one rat buzz to 17. This is the anti-RPO run pass option. I think you'll see that. And Chris is saying, I think Lance is there. Wink, wink. We need to get pressure on the leg. Yeah, I mean, certainly, Chris. So let's see. How do we got one there. I want to show this here. The reason for this is, we scroll this back just a bit. You can see there, and this is something that if you go back and watch this game, you'll pick this up. They're playing a lot of middle of the field close coverage. What that means is you have that single high safety held deep. Really, the idea here is you can take advantage of that safety by creating conflict, running posts across his face, having crossers underneath, under 15-yard digs, asking for him to either pick or choose. You're coming up for the dig, then I'll hit you backside with the post. You stick with the post, then we'll have something underneath for you. So really interesting by D'Amico Ryans here. This is very early in the season. You're not going to see a ton of exotic stunts or blitzes from this team, even throughout the entire game. But really, this is the whole idea. If we're sitting in Justin Fields' shoes, let's try to identify, is it one high or is it too high? Are they trying to put a roof on me? Do we have the potential to have a deep shot here? Looking at the front, this is very common of this San Francisco 49ers defense. You're going to see this a lot. They're an even front. That means 4 down linemen, but you'll see it here. They love to sit here and play these wide nines. You're asking your tackle to really come out on an island here and try to block it up. Tough work. And then, of course, as we see here, for those that are just trying to understand this even front defense, you've got your one technique here. This is your, by all accounts, Mike Pennell. Kyrus Tonga's playing this position, and then you have your 3-tech here in Eric Armstead. This is the guy that's here to make a lot of money for this team. Little side note, Nick Bosa was absolutely just utterly destroying people this game. And we'll kind of get into that part of the chip help and how to really stop him. But let's scroll through forward here. This is something that I don't anticipate you're going to see. Tareen, good morning. This is something I don't think that you're going to anticipate seeing too much. And the reason being is, look, I'm here to call a spade a spade. I don't think it's a winning business model against this front four to ask our 5 guys to block it up. Excuse me here. It really needs to be here. We're not counting the tight end. To block it up in what is essentially the Matt Nagy offense of, hey, let's just go into empty and ask Justin to survive in quick game. And that's something you'll see here, and I think it's an important key to victory as well. The Packers in this game, funny enough, they had offensive line issues. Bakhtiari's not playing. Elton Jenkins isn't playing. Your interior was so the line consisted of Yosh Nijman, second string left tackle behind David Bakhtiari, left guard John Runyon, center Josh Myers, Ohio State, played with Justin Fields. Right guard was Royce Newman, rookie, 5th or 6th round pick, and then your right tackle was Billy Turner, who's now with the Broncos. So the whole reason I'm telling you this is this offensive line, as we hear in the media, the Bears' offensive line is going to struggle with this. The Packers felt the same level of danger here. And you'll notice as we pick apart this game that there's a consistent effort to run a lot of RPOs, to chip Bosa with tight ends, have the tight ends leaking, get the ball out quick so that offensive line doesn't, get mashed by that defense. So let's go ahead and show it here. We'll run it back. Yes, this is the big game. Something, I guess the reason we're talking about this too is if you can pick little nuggets from how to potentially win against these coverages. I mean, this is one thing I love about the 49ers, and we'll see how it works for the Bears. DeMeco Ryans their defense coordinator. Look, you're playing against Aaron Rodgers. You would think they'd be running a lot of 2 high safeties, put a roof or a shell over the top so that Aaron Rodgers can't beat you. They were unafraid to man up and say, look, we're going to play you man and force you to beat us with your arm, Aaron. And you'll see Aaron was phenomenal, playing lights out this game. I think he was like 16 of 18 at the half for almost 200 yards. It was really insane. But this is just a very common concept that you'll see in the LaFleur offense that I certainly anticipate you're going to see. And Justin Fields will make money on this. This is just your typical slot fade here. And when we're all manned up, everybody's playing man. We've got this scenario here where you're going to see Fred Warner. This is why I called it the anti-RPO. The entire Green Bay offense ran through Devontae Adams, which is what we're going to see is so interesting, is how they're going to work without Devontae Adams. But they like to use him on little Omaha routes, little slants, little return routes. So you'll actually see Fred Warner buzz over here post-snap as the rat in the hole to take anything from Adams away while everybody else across the board is manned up. And what that ends up doing is you'll run this guy here on a little curl, and your slot fade becomes a one-on-one shot, put it out and up over here, and you got a nice play. And so let's just kind of show you how that works. And sure enough, K'Wan Williams, who I think is one of the best nickels in the league, just isn't keeping up with a big power slot like Allen Lazard. Nice play. All right. So really the idea here is let's try to maximize what we have going here with that. If they are willing to test Justin and say, let's put him in man coverage, let's put man coverage against him, ask him to beat us with his arm, I think that you're going to see that. All righty. And then next play here. This is, again, this is what we're talking about too, is this defensive line. I didn't cut it all up, otherwise we'd be here forever, but Nick Bosa right here made a living just wrecking this offensive line in this first play. I mean, one play before this, he tipped a ball that almost became an interception. Aaron Rodgers caught his own pass. He has been the problem here for Yosh Nijman, who's actually a pretty solid tackle. So as we go through here, though, how do you work to neutralize that rush? We've talked about it. Get the ball out quick. The other way, force them to be patient. Punish their over-aggressiveness. You're going to see how aggressive this front is to get after the passer. Great. You want to spread it out wide? You want to shoot upfield, pin your ears back? How do we beat that? We're going to show you right here. So this is how we force some patience. You're going to end up seeing what becomes a halfback screen here against that single high safety. We're going to clearly watch him here. Watch how much they over pursue here. Upfield. and then you get Aaron Jones just kind of leaking out here. And so let's kind of show you that. Nobody's there, and you've got 3 blockers ahead of you. First down, that is how you punish this defense that's going to continue to pursue you. So I know we didn't have much of a screen game with Matt Nagy, but I think that if you can utilize and weaponize that screen game to punish them for constantly trying to charge upfield, you may be able to pick up some easy plays and get your offense in meaningful, manageable downs. Moving along here. All right. I want to show this because I think that this is a good example of, I mean, you're watching Aaron Rodgers make a play here, but admittedly, if we can, if you get this with Justin Fields, you may have yourself a day. So as we're going ahead and showing here, this is a whip fire zone slant. So let me just kind of draw this up for you on the defense. Just something that our offensive line is going to have to work through. So you're going to see defensive line slanting in with Warner being the whip fire zone here. Fire zone ultimately being a zone coverage where you are essentially sending an extra second level defender to blitz. So you've got a 5-man pressure here. Now, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just so smooth in the pocket and ends up wiggling out here for a big gain. And you'll see that, one, the reason this happens is that there's no containing here. You would assume that 51 would be responsible to contain anything to the outside, but for whatever reason, it doesn't occur. And so with this slant, all it takes is for Aaron Rodgers to get outside, and then he's got a free lane. And you can imagine what that looks like with Justin Fields. So again, looking at the coverage, IDing it, seeing the pressure, blocking it up correctly, and then giving your guys to make a chance. So let's go ahead and show you that here. Try to pause it throughout so you can see Fred Warner creeping up. And there we are, where he should typically be responsible for containing. He's got to cover this up here. And so what you'll end up seeing as we scroll through here, Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is actually a penalty, and we'll show you up here, but Josh Nijman gets a face mask right here on Nick Bosa, so it gets called back. But assuming we can get Braxton Jones to block that up correctly, then you've got a situation here where watch Aaron Rodgers just break free. Justin Fields is I don't want to say housing that, but you're certainly getting more mileage out of it from Justin than you would be Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is still a great athlete. Nothing taking anything away from the guy. Okay. Tooch, thank you so much for joining. Chris, do I think Jenkins is starting? Heard Patrick might be. I'll go quickly on that. If for some reason Jenkins isn't starting, if they decide to displace Tevin Jenkins for Lucas Patrick because he can't snap the ball, but they need to get him reps, I think it's an incredibly unwise move. I would strongly abhor that move. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that you should stick with Tevin. He's shown enough to play there. I don't think anybody you put there is going to have an easy day with Eric Armstead. But it's a situation where at the end of the day, keep Tevin there. If they're going to put Patrick in, I think it should strictly be for center. And if you can't snap right now, then hold off. Run with the lineup that you've had to work with in the preseason. I don't think Sam Mustipher's been all that bad either. Okay. So this is your second drive, first play. As you can see, we've got quite a few to get through here. So I apologize if it feels like we're blazing through, but I have a lot to show you. Okay, so then we talked about kind of chip help and how this works and all these different things. As I go through my notes here, 12 personnel. So this is a 12 personnel play, jumbo. This is a cover 3 weak buzz. I'll draw this up real quick. Okay. So cover 3 weak buzz. You've got essentially deep zones here. You've got a middle zone here, and then a deep zone. That's your deep thirds. The reason you don't have a line here is obviously your middle safety is covering that. What you're going to end up getting is that, and could be wrong, we'll have to play it, but he should be buzzing down weak. And so what that does is you're hoping, and this is the reason I want to bring this up, is this is another way that they're going to play it. We talk about how good Darnell Mooney is and how that's really the number one option for Justin Fields. Well, the way that this defense is going to try to take that away, and you'll see you've got your corner, Mosley, number 4 at the top of your screen. backing off into that deep third, you're starting to see the safety come down. The reason for that is that on this Davante Adams-centric offense, as we said, they want to run these RPO slants, these glance routes. They want to run little curls, little quick outs, screens here. Well, so if it's just off the jump and Aaron Rodgers knows where he's going, which a lot of the times with he and Davante, they were predetermining, let's have our safety buzz down here to either smack Davante and force an incompletion, or if he's quick enough, jump the route, and we may be going the other way. So Justin's got to be careful about that. You're going to see that here as we go through. And so I put here 17 being Davante Adams. This is a great job by him. This is what we talk about where, look, safety wants to buzz down, and you can see he's reading here. If Adams comes in, I'm here to stop it. The chemistry between these two is so great. Oh, you want to play off in your deep third? No problem. I'll sit it down right here. Aaron's going to bang it in there, and we've got a completion. So really just high-level play, but this is the example of the things that they're going to try to do to take away a Mooney. From the reason I show you this, too, is this Green Bay offense loves to run those RPOs, and I expect you're going to see some of that with Justin, to a guy like Mooney, a guy that we know can catch the ball. Well, good, but this defense is ready to key on those as well, and you don't want to have a situation where Justin thinks he's got Mooney, decides to throw, and you've got a robber ready to pick off the ball. And so we'll just watch Davante Adams, top of your screen, sit on this route, and it ultimately leaves it to where that safety who's buzzing down can't rob the play. And you'll see he's trying to get out there in time. Arm angle's going, delivery's going, but it's just not quick enough. Davante Adams finds the hole in the zone. First down. All righty. Moving along. You would have thought I titled this, but I didn't. I guess we'll just see. Yes, okay. This is the long shot to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So they play this out of empty. Again, we want to go back to it. I don't think that you're going to see the Bears run too much empty, but this is where we talk about they've even got their two high safeties here. So let's show that up here. This is the crazy thing too. Is Swift? Thank you so much for coming through. So you have your two high safeties here. The funny thing is, the reason we put two high safeties is you want to put a house, a roof, a shell on the offense. You want to make sure they can't gash you deep. And the offensive line does such a good job blocking this up that Valdes-Scantling has enough time to split these safeties, come over the top, and just get a beautiful ball. So let's go ahead and show you that here. I mean, look, I want to be very clear. I'm showing you this Green Bay offense so you can get concept. I love Justin Fields. I don't think he's Aaron Rodgers, and we don't have a receiver like Davante Adams yet, but want to show you how this San Francisco 49ers defense is playing a similar style offense and the ways that this offense is able to take advantage of this over-aggressive surprisingly, you would think that this, to give you an idea, this defense is somewhat similar to the Bears, and they're running even front, decent amount of zone. This is really an extension of the Robert Saleh team, which originally comes from Seattle. D'Amico Ryans puts his own spin on it. They're playing a lot of man here. And then let's just show you how you want to play man, no problem. Well, excuse me, as I'm saying, they're playing man in this game. This one is not man. They're actually playing quarters. You can identify that with these two safeties going deep. And then watch, see, and this is where, I guess let me see if I can rewind that just a bit. So this is how you take advantage of this. This is that low dig where we create conflict. If Ward wants to come down, now you're asking Jaquiski Tart to come over the top when you've got fast Marquez Valdes-Scantling already out there. King T, thank you so much for joining. Just kind of goes through this. So let's show you how that looks. And Aaron Rodgers just puts it on the money. And as you can see there, it's game over right there. Go ahead and throw it up, Aaron. Boom. Big play. And Swift, you're saying no Ward for this. Well, yeah, it's a big deal. And this is how, it looks like from the back. And this is where we're talking about how they're blocking this up. This is no easy feat. To be clear, I do not want to see the Bears trying to do 5-0 protection one-on-one versus these guys. But in this case, because they're only sending 3, and this is what's crazy, they're only sending 3, they're dropping 8. You would think that this would totally be covered up. They find a hole in it. And because they're not sending more pressure, you've got a situation where your center can help out here and take care of Javon Kinlaw. You're asking Josh Nyman to take care of D Ford, and then I believe this is Bosa, but you're getting the double on Bosa. So that gives Rodgers enough time here to wait for this play to develop, and you're going to see him just bang this out to Valdez-Scantling. And it's just, I mean, God, it's Aaron Rodgers. I know we don't like Aaron Rodgers, but goodness gracious, yeah. And Swift, you're totally right on. This is the advantage when you have a guy like Davante Adams. Not only do they key on him and take advantage of him and abuse the 49ers with him, but he becomes the ultimate decoy after that to allow guys like Valdez-Scantling to open it up deep. So as we see it here, just boom, hitting it on the money. Okay, so let's move along. This is play 6 from drive 2. All right, so this is an interesting play. This is Kentavious Street. Kentavious is no longer with the 49ers. He's with the New Orleans Saints. But they actually end up running a spy here. And then, of course, I just call this elite ball play by you're going to see it here. This is unfair. I don't know if you're ever going to see this from Justin this weekend, but thank you, Tooch. I appreciate your kind words. King T saying Aaron's a special QB. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't love Aaron Rodgers either, but as far as a player, he's phenomenal. Supposedly, San Francisco safeties are suspect renewable. We're going to see that. Jaquiski Tartt's no longer there. Jimmy Ward is out. They've got Hufanga and then Swift. Help me out. Who's the other safety that they're running? Name escapes me at the moment. But what you're seeing here is that they're going to actually put a spy on Aaron and rush 3, and the spy is right here. Now you're just going to see some elite work where Warner actually buzzes out here, or maybe he goes, but regardless, it's actually Street. Street, the spy, buzzes out here to the hole as the rat defender, which takes away Adams right here. And then it just becomes Aaron Rodgers manipulating it with his feet, giving Aaron Rodgers time. And then I end up saying that this is just elite play by those two, because what you're going to end up seeing, I don't even understand. Yes, thank you, Swift. It is Tarvarius Moore or George Odom. Odom from the Eberflus defense of the Colts, and then Hufanga from USC. This is where I don't even understand how Davante Adams keeps his mitts on this ball, but just watch it. It's beautiful. And then the reason I bring this up is we want to talk about let's put a spy on Lance so he can't run. They're putting a spy on Rodgers. You can bet your sweet bottom dollar that they're going to put a spy on Justin here. And in this case, now Justin's faster than any D lineman that they're putting, but I also don't necessarily think you're going to get a D lineman spy on Justin. It may be Fred Warner, for example, as we saw multiple times last year. Let me send it up here. Yep. So actually, and this is where we talk about it, to where you're sending 3. Street is dropping here, which is going to stop Adams. You've got your trips or your 3 over here, which this is perfect, by the way. I mean, this is not that we're trying to teach defense here, but when you always want to be +1 in your responsibilities. So they've got essentially a nice coverage here on the 3 to where they can play out, play deep, play under. So good work there. And then just want to show you. So Warner buzzes over there to help and provide coverage to the strong side of the formation. And then you've got that D tackle Kentavious Street, who's ultimately playing the spy and blocking up Adams. So let's show you that. And you'll see right there, Aaron's looking for this window where he can just throw it here, but Street is there. And as we let it play out, no go. And now it's trouble. And I guess you can say maybe he should hang it up here, but you're going to see this is just the elite play from Rodgers and Adams. And as I said, I have no idea how this works. But one thing is he escapes the pressure from Bosa like nobody's business. Great pocket awareness. Forces Street to come up because Street, being the QB spy, thinks he may take off. And then watch him just bang this out, where I have no idea how Adams takes such a hit and holds on to it. But that is that elite chemistry between quarterback and wide receiver that hopefully at one point, whether it be Sunday or otherwise, you start seeing from Justin and Darnell Mooney. Just amazing here. Okay, moving along. This is the very next play. This is the touchdown. which frankly I have no idea how this continues to happen in this Green Bay offense where they just steal plays, but steal touchdowns. It's almost like you're taking candy from a baby. So what you're going to see here, and luckily the broadcast actually drew it up too, but this is the reason. Let's show you what it looks like in goal line, because this is where Green Bay absolutely takes full advantage of this. Swift, you're saying they'll miss that with Adams going. Yeah, certainly they will. But this is a situation in goal line where this 49ers defense is just going to man it up across the board. And they get this. That's what I'm saying. It almost feels like it's just you're unfair. The rules of this Eberflus defense, and this is a little bit of I'm using it out of turn, but nothing cheap, nothing deep. And this is as cheap as it gets. So you're going to watch the motion of Davante Adams coming in here, which then Norman passes it off and says, all right, you follow him. And then I'll take outside responsibility. And then as Adams comes here, they snap it and he returns out. And for whatever reason, I think it's Lenore is the nickel here, never tracks it, doesn't seem to see it. And it's the easiest. And when we talk about, wow, look at those touchdowns, and Davante Adams had some X amount of touchdowns. I don't want to take anything away from the guy, but this is about as easy as it gets. It's kind of ridiculous. Let's play that here for you. I mean, you're stealing at that point. And here you'll see it here on the broadcast angle. So as Adams follows through, Lenore takes it. Oh, just kidding. Gets lost in the shuffle. Free play. It's the third drive, 6 play. All righty. So I just want to show this because this is, Swift, you're saying too easy. Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing, though. If you want to talk about what the Bears can pull from this, and Chris is saying pick play, this is what I'm hoping you see from this offense, coming from great coaching, as Swift said, coming from the Matt Nagy offense, where it seemed like they were allergic to the end zone. We've already seen it now. I think it was the Seahawks game and some others. I mean, we saw the little Texas route to Ebner. When they get in the Green Bay terms, the gold zone or the red zone, I anticipate that you're going to see a lot of these cheaper plays that I have no idea how the NFL is allowing these. I mean, this is pro football. It shouldn't get any easier than to cover just a little return route motion in man. But for whatever reason, they get away with it. So kudos to them. Fair game. Yes, and then as you're saying, King, you do have to respect, especially with this guy, number 28, just rocked up the quad father. Okay. And so as we move along here, let's show you this. This is actually a sack on Aaron. And where that sack comes through, just a second here. Apologies. Gotta love when forgot to put the charger on. All right. And so as we go through here, as we look, this is actually a sack on Aaron. And what this is one, I mean, they're playing quarters, and this is where they'll give you some exotic looks. Ward is down here. Oops. Come on. Ward is down here. Tart's up here. You're going to actually see them play deep, and then you're going to have these guys buzz back in a quarters look. Now, it doesn't even end up getting that far because you end up getting just such a beautiful sack. And the reason this happens is Dylan ends up leaving the protection. So just a little quick rundown on offense in the NFL today. Base level, what I'm hoping for as an offensive coordinator is, please, can I get the back out? I want as many outlet options for my quarterback. And if you force me to keep the back in, I'm a little bit ticked off. I didn't get every option out there available. Dylan needs to actually stay here and cover this up, and he doesn't. He ends up leaving, which then Warner just takes him. But you're going to see this is just, and really so many guys to focus on here. Nick Bosa does a good job kind of wrapping around back up on Nyman. But really the guy that we want to focus on here, and I'll circle it through and through, is watch Kinlaw. Because everybody wants to talk about Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa. And look, I think Samson Ebukam and Charles Amenahu are going to be real options. But when we talk about what this looks like in practice, you're looking at that, once again, middle of the field close coverage. They're motioning Adams across. Dillon steps up. And this is where you start to see them playing that quarters look. Mosley backs off. Mosley at the bottom of your screen, number 4. And then you have, I believe that's Tart playing back. Now let's just watch. And this is where it all goes down because we're going to watch Dillon here just completely whiff and just leave. And this is now, D Ford is no longer on the team, but this becomes Samson Ebucom. Look how well he's just sitting there and forcing Aaron to have to step up. Bosa's trying to do the same. And then look at Armstead really just bench pressing and getting the power on Royce Newman. And then you've got a double team on Kinlaw here, and he's going to spin up over the top right into Aaron's lap. I mean, this is, you want to talk about why you get it. Everybody wants to say the Bears are going to win. Maybe they will. I'm just telling you, this defensive line is as real as they come. So let's go ahead and show you that. I mean, let's look at it here and pause where you can see Aaron's already getting uncomfortable, feeling like he has to step up. Armstead's basically in his grill. And then, as I said, you want to really focus in on Kinlaw. Look at how he's spun. You've got Runyon with his back still to him, and it's right here for game. It's just doesn't get any better than this. And there it is. Swift saying the toughest test. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I think Buffalo's got a little bit of a challenge there. They've got so many bodies as well, but certainly Chris Kasurik, this defensive line, it's definitely a real challenge. I mean, look at this here where you've got Armstead immediately throwing Newman off base. And then the edges are coming in just enough to get Aaron to step up. And so, I mean, J2K, you're asking a great question, too, saying Eric Armstead will be an issue. J2K, Jeremy, to answer your question, and I'll show it here later. This is the problem when they like to go into empty. And I think that they're going to, and it's not totally empty. They have a back there, but it becomes empty because Dillon just leaves. And he's not helping here. And this is where I'm sure Aaron would have been like, get your ass back here so that I have time. I can shred defenses with my arm and my mind all day, but I need time, and you leave. Simple problems, young running back, going to be the thing. Jeremy, to answer your question, I'm going to show it later. They run a lot of 12 personnel, 13 jumbo, chipping tight ends. There's a play, I didn't capture it. There's a play where Nick Bosa gets ear-holed like I've never seen. We're talking just completely just owned. Tight end, it's Tanyan who comes off of a crack block and just destroys and detonates Nick Bosa. So you'll see these chips coming in where, especially later in the game, they really close this down. Laro, thank you for joining us, Swift, Chris, everybody, I appreciate it. Let's keep rolling through. That spin by Kinlaw, I mean, it's just, and Kinlaw's healthy again. This is what I'm saying. It's going to be an interesting one. All right, and then as I said, coming back to that Luke Getsy offense, this Green Bay offense, I don't know how much you're going to see this chemistry or this level of connection between Mooney and Justin. I certainly think it's there, but Adams and Rodgers are just a different level. But this is a RPO concept that is very simple. You're going to have the running back come through here. This is a little Omaha route. It gets, I believe it's Lazard here blocking up, big body on Mosley, and it allows Devontae Adams to work. And this is, I mean, Jeremy, to answer your question, who's saying, like, how do I sit there and stop this D-line? Get the ball out quick. Make them wrong. Chip, provide extra protection. Roll out the QB. Run these RPOs where, look, I can't be wrong. I give it for a run and we get 3 or 4. Or if it's open, I get Mooney out in space and ask him to make a few extra yards. Juan, you're saying Kinlaw looks like a monster this year. Yes, sir. Cliff, thanks for joining. Want to see a game plan that minimizes D-line chances. Yeah, absolutely, Cliff. So as we go through here, again, this is a little RPO Omaha route to Adams. Adams gets the ball, and this is where Adams is playing basketball in space here and just makes a bunch of yards after the catch to get a first. You see here, and this is just an example. Justin's going to really, I put something on Twitter earlier about another play. I didn't include it in here, but Justin and Mustafa or Patrick are really going to have to do their best job to ID pressure here. Because, I mean, here's the reality. I understand that Warner's not showing it, Marcel Harris, but you've got Shahir here who's now showing it off the edge. You've essentially got 5-0 protection where if everybody's coming here, you've got that. And to add, this is, Jeremy who's asking, how do they stop it? Tanyan's right in here to help Chip. And then this is what I really hope that the Bears do. You want to talk about a key to victory is if you're going to put these extra tight ends here to Chip, and Green Bay does such a good job of this, they will have the tight end provide support, and then after a second or two, they'll just come out as a drop outlet and a leak, and it's there for Justin to hit as a check down for a couple yards if all else fails. All righty, and so you're going to have to ID up that pressure. This is, again, they're sending pressure. They're not afraid to man us up. This D-line's scary. Make them wrong. Create conflict. Play RPOs. Throw the ball quickly. And so you'll see it here, which is funny enough. I mean, Shair declares he's blitzing, and this is the beauty. And you want to talk about another key. If Justin can really get this cadence down, because it's subtle, but let's show it here. I didn't give you audio here, but you can see Shair comes buzzing down. And then he actually is ready to go. Rodgers lifts the leg, gives the cadence. And then, let me back it up just a little bit. Right there, right before it. And then he ends up going, oh, crap, he got me. Now, this is what I talk about, where how am I wrong? Okay, well, fake it here. 51 has to respond to it, wants to chase it down backside. It's his natural reaction. Well, now you've left this lane open. Yes, we have 2-on-2, but Adams is not looking to create a matchup here. He's looking to just cut it short and then have a lead blocker here. And so this is what you're going to see. And there's Lazard doing just enough, and then Adams is just Adams putting it together. Laro, you're saying, will Wesco be active? And he came from LaFleur offense. Yeah, I mean, he was actually playing with Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother, in New York. So let's go ahead and show you the next one. Getting through these is doing okay on time, and then I'll show you what I have cut up from the Colts, and then we'll go into a little questions before I get out of here. Go through your comments real quick. Let's see. All right. So what are we running here? Oh yes, okay. So this is another one of their touchdowns. This is nothing special here. Now, one thing I will say is, I don't know how much we're going to see this, but the Packers chewed up the 49ers in this game, running a ton of duo from this shotgun look. So you've got this duo block, this deuce up here, another deuce up here, and then can we get Nyman up on Warner? And then he's got an option to go here or here. And I know you're going, well, what about Bosa, the big bad boogeyman here? Well, this is an example, too, of I've really tried to hone in on this, and I hope you guys can see it, is they are aggressive. They try their best to be disciplined, but this is the difference between like an Eberflus defense versus what you're seeing from San Francisco and D'Amico Ryans is they like to get upfield. They trust that pressure is going to get home. Well, and what that does is sometimes these little play actions, these little draws, these little counters and things end up costing them. And so really what we want to hone in on is this is actually wild. The blocking scheme here is Nyman comes up to Warner. These two work here with the center ultimately trying to work up here. Same here. If we can get up here. He's out here to respect them. Tight ends here to try to wall off Armstead. Play's not going that way, so it doesn't matter. I want to be fair. Let's give some credit to Lazard here. Lazard does a good job being in the way of Bosa, but Bosa actually cuts it in so much here that by the time that he cuts it in, Jones just runs it up out here. So let's show you that. Hope my memory's correct on it, but I think it is. So they like to motion across. This is actually, let's see. So they motion Cobb across, creating that deception, which ultimately forces this defense to respond. If it's a screen, they have to rush out here. And so what that does is it gets you moving. And then this is what I talk about. Let's give some credit to Lazard for, yes, getting in the way. But he's got his back to him, like Bosa. Get out here and hold it down. But you'll see he presses in thinking Jones is going here. And Jones just cuts it up here. And he's walking in for a touchdown. I'll see that here. Just Green Bay And that's why I said it's not always like nothing cheap, nothing deep. But boy, it seems like some of these touchdowns they're getting easier than you would expect. This is the 8th drive, 4th quarter. Skip some time. So this is where we've got the smallest, so we can get that. Just again, IDing pressure. This is D'Amico Ryans. Now, if you were to go to the Green Bay divisional championship game, or was it division conference, whatever the case may be, it was the snow game. Robbie Gould wins the game at the end. That was a game in the playoffs where D'Amico Ryans was throwing a ton of exotic stuff, a bunch of Tampa 2, double safety blitz, things of that sort. I don't think you're going to get anything that exotic in this game, but this is an example of they're still going to bring pressure, and they're still going to force Justin Fields and the center to have that protection dialed up correctly. And so you're going to see that here where we get a mugged A look. You got both backers in the A gap. And then, of course, just your standard down. And this is something they like to do, too. They like to put one of their edges standing up in a 2-point while the other is down, pinning back. And this one is still coming, but has the leverage here to where he's not flying off the ball like Bosa is on the other end. And so as we look through, and then this is just an example, too, of we look at this and we go, okay, so the threats are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they are actually going to end up dropping these backers into a spot zone. And they're going to bring the nickel off the edge here. And nickel's, look, nickel there is selling it extremely well. Doesn't show you a single bit that he's coming. And you'll see how the Packers respond to this. And this is why I have my notes here, slot fade miss. So they actually try to run, I believe it's a slot fade to Adams up here. And ultimately misses them because of that blitz, because there's not enough time to do it. You'll see Nickel's literally, watch the nickel up here. He is literally like sinking back, makes it look like I'm not coming. And then he's roaring off the edge. So again, things that Justin Fields is going to need to see comes off the edge here. Both backers drop. And we talk about that slot fade route. They love it. And so I anticipate this is something where if you're going to play so much man, you're going to play us tight. Can Mooney get deep? Can a Dante Pettis break deep, and then Justin Fields just drops it in the basket over the top. All right. This is drive 9, play 4, cover 1 mug to A, nickel blitz. This is very similar. You're going to get this nickel blitz here. And so, again, let's see. So this is cover 1, really. And this is where if – Tuch had said earlier, it's going to come down to which QB makes more plays. This is the example of that. You're going to need this from Justin. And Jeremy, you're saying Fields needs to play a smart game, and we need to take advantage of Lance's mistakes. Yes, of course. And this is an example where Justin's got to be able to be confident. And I have no problem in that. I always think he's confident in his arm. Again, we're going to see it. We're not afraid of you, Green Bay. So we're going to man you up. And we're going to mug these backers up here in the A. And oh, by the way, we're going to send that nickel again. Now, just want to show you this because this is what Rodgers and them have to expect, and this is what's so beautiful. They literally send the house. Like, this is, hey, it's 3rd and 4. We're close to the end zone. I guess if you want to burn us and you want to beat us, you got to earn it. But we are sending everybody. And then it's simply going to be one-on-one, single high safety just in case you fall down or something. And this is Aaron Rodgers completely taking advantage here and trying. Now, doesn't get it. And this is where I tell you, this defense, D'Amico Ryans, they're not scared of anything. J-Rock saying, do I think I'm going to see a lot of three? Do we think we're going to see a lot of 3 wide receiver sets with the rain? I think that you'll see a decent amount of 11 personnel, but I really think if they're trying to win this game, play heavy, run the ball, chip that defensive line. You're going to need to do that. Run a lot of 12, 13, 21 personnel to try and get them open, to get these plays open for these play action shots if the weather allows. But again, if it's so rainy, I don't think they're going to want to sit there and say, hey, Justin, try to wing this ball so deep. And you're going to see how, I wish I would have captured more of it. In the Colts game that we're going to show after this, the amount of rain that was there was fumbles, there was dropped snaps, missed balls. The rain can really mess up a game. Okay. So let's go through here. And I'd say this, but I guess so. They drop Warner to match. This is where it comes from cover 1, but then they match it all the way through. And this is Rodgers just trusting his arm and going, okay, I got it, and then doesn't complete it. But this is about as good as you can put a ball. It's just Mosley's playing good defense. And the reason I bring this up, too, is I know that we talk about this secondary. It was Josh Norman and everything. Charvarius Ward, if you want to talk about this secondary, Charvarius Ward comes from Kansas City. Great man corner. They've been, from training camp reports, putting him in man a ton, playing a lot of man coverage. So I anticipate you're going to see a relatively vanilla call as far as not a ton of exotic stunts, decent stuff, getting the defense kind of geared up and ready to go full time together. But you're going to see a lot of man, and this is where Mosley is still there. You're going to see guys like Charvarius Ward here. So as much as you're going, wow, that's an option for Mooney to make a play, that's not going to be Mosley. That's going to be Charvarius Ward on him. Swift, I got you. Okay. And as Jeremy, you're saying I really hope Getsy pulls everything out of his hat, makes that. I mean, we'll see. I got to say, I kind of hope that doesn't happen, Jeremy, only because I want to make sure that there's that we're saving stuff. That's the whole thing I'm saying is D'Amico Ryans isn't going to sit here and say, I'm going to show you everything I got in week one. I don't anticipate you're going to see that from the Bears either. And this is actually just the last play of the sequence, and I'm showing you a little bit of 49ers offense because this just happened to be the play where, I mean, as much as I know it's the popular Bears fan narrative right now to say, oh, he finished 7th in team voting and he's not a captain. They don't believe in him. That's fine. You can say all you want about that. At the end of the day, as a rookie last year, he had added one passing touchdown at this point, played spot work. Jimmy G hadn't been injured yet. This is week 3. They are desperately in need to score a touchdown here. They absolutely need it. It is 17-0 going into the half. Aaron Rodgers has torched them. They're getting gashed by Aaron Jones. And it's 2 seconds left, no timeouts. Who do they bring in? They're bringing in Trey Lance. Put this on Twitter. You can find it there as well. But this is just a beautiful QB power play. And again, some of this is they don't have anymore. Alex Mack, who does a phenomenal job. Mack here actually gets up to Amos here on the boundary and clips him just enough for Lance to get out. I'll draw this play up real quick just so you can see it. They're going to motion in an orbit screen here. They're going to motion. Come on, Penn. They're going to motion Sermon over here around the back. Little fake screen. These guys are going to fake like they're blocking up. Gets the defense flowing this way to think that, all right, they're just going to try this bodying us up and get 2 yards here with Sermon, a tough runner. And what they actually do off of it is they run QB power where you're going to get Kittle cracking down here. Trent Williams, the silverback himself, coming out on the edge here and absolutely blowing up Stokes. Boom. And then you're going to end up getting Mack with his great agility, which is why Kyle Shanahan couldn't stop having Mack on his teams. We're going to see if Jake Brendel can do some of this, their new center, getting out on the edge. And then you've got Trey Lance just following it up here. And so let's show you what I call the threat of Trey Lance. And I anticipate you're fully going to see this. You're going to totally see this stuff. Where, especially, I mean, this is in goal line, but I think you're going to see very similar things to this now where a lot of deception. Let's see if we can get a few bodies moving the right way. And this is, I mean, a little heads up. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but if you're watching the Shanahan offense, you're going to see this in the next one. It's all about moving people around, deception. Can we get people moving one way and then gash them the other way? And so these linebackers and whatnot have, I mean, you literally get Amos moving in, which gives Alex Mack enough space to get him out here and stop him from making a play on Lance. And so what ends up happening here is I think you're going to see a lot of Lance getting these bash plays, power, QB sweep, wrap plays, things of that sort where they're going to get Lance here out in the open. And then it becomes kind of, I mean, I don't think I'm the first one with this, but I think he's, Jeremy saying RG3 offense. I think that he's an example of Steve McNair running the ball. Big 240-pound guy that good luck trying to tackle in space because he moves. So let's kind of back out here and show you. Come on, Penn. All right. Okay, thank you so much for hanging with me as we go through this. Get a little bit of a halftime here. Cornelius, J-Rock, J2K, thank you everybody for joining. I hope this has been enjoyable and informational. I'm going to show you a couple things. This shouldn't be too new. I've played these before, but let's go over it. I'm not telling you. The good news is the Colts under Matt Eberflus cleaned this up in time to where they ended up winning this game. This is in Santa Clara. It got so rainy, so nasty. This is the first drive. You can see it's 14:56 in the first quarter, first play. We're going to show you the issues and how this offense can take advantage of this Bears defense and gash them. I kind of joke here that Kyle Shanahan put Matt Eberflus and his defense in a blender on this. And really what you're going to see, and I wish I had all the right statistics for you, but I assure you, you can look it up. You can see one of the things that the Colts D is so good at, and this isn't too much of new news. Yes, R.I.P. Steve McNair. The Colts defense was number one in the league at one. It's discipline. We all know discipline. That means gap discipline. That means, flying to the right area, being gap responsible. But these linebackers, and I've got a few where I'm just going to circle them and go watch them exclusively. They do not bite on play action. It killed the Tennessee Titans when they played the Colts because that's their whole offense. Run it with Derrick Henry. Then we drop back. We have Ryan Tannehill bombing it over the top. And this Colts defense, and this is what I hope you see with this Bears defense, they were the least aggressive defense on biting on play action. And that is the NFL nowadays. Can we get you to bite on play action so we can hit one over the top on you if you're going to run two high shells and things of that sort? Bring that safety down. And so that is the good of this defense. Now I'm going to show you where they get wrecked on this first drive, and it's all because they are too aggressive. They come out a little bit hot, Sunday Night Football. Let's go out there and set the tone. And you're going to see Kyle and his offense just completely shred them because they're sitting here getting so displaced by the movement. And I understand it's not easy. They get paid too. They're watching the offense. They're all moving one way. It's their job to respond to it. Otherwise, they look like fools if it's going that way. But let's just show you how it plays out. Okay. This is just I expect you'll see a lot of this with Justin Fields and the Bears too, but this is your typical cans call from San Francisco. That is typically canning one play, going to another. They'll also have Oscar. Oscar changes the play to the other side. You obviously, because I'm telling you one's Oscar and one's cans, you'll have different offenses changing it where cans is the one where they're swapping. Oscar's the one where they're changing to different plays. But this is an example of what Kyle's bringing to you every week that you're playing the 49ers, where they don't want to be wrong. They always want to have an answer at the line. So as much as the quarterback isn't having free reign to call audibles, he's coming to the line with 2 or 3 options ready to go with a cans or an Oscar call. Okay, so let's move along here. I believe, and Eli Mitchell, this is where Eli Mitchell gets slept on. Eli Mitchell shreds this defense for the Colts. And so this is just your typical zone. You're going to see it here where they end up getting a lead up here and following. And then you're just seeing everybody do the wide zone. But just watch look at how these linebackers are all pursuing. This is what this Kyle Shanahan offense wants, because then eventually we backdoor and we've got different routes coming up over here, which I'm going to show you. But this first drive, the Colts are just getting gashed. Oh, excuse me. And this is what I'm telling you. It's been a while since I watched the first drive. This is what I'm talking about. And yes, I look like a total novice right now where I'm telling you things that are but this is an example. Fly here. Great. We're just popping it out the back door on you. Can't have that. If you're going to be disciplined, sticks, don't bite on the play action. This is biting on the play action. This is what costs you. Look at those linebackers all flying over, and I get it. But then look at this deep coverage where now I've got him coming back and him running the alert. Problems. And sure enough, right there to Devo, first down. Well, close to it. Another play here. I believe this is just Mitchell gashing him. Yep. Which I understand. This doesn't seem like a big deal. Runs are going to happen. But this is the problem where, okay, you want to start flying here, linebackers. Great. We'll have Kyle Juszczyk lead it up, and then he'll cut it up here. Misdirection constantly. There's our first down. Move along, a lot of pre-snap motion. Getting extra guys in the box here. I mean, this is the, I don't know, it's my show. I can do what I want. This is the fuckery that goes on with this offense. We're here. Let's go ahead and move Dwelle in. And then we're going to move Kyle Juszczyk back here. Then we're going to can it. Defense has got to process all this in real time. And then this is, I mean, look, good play by the Colts defense, but then you going to finish the play? Like, rally to the tackle. We just watched this offensive line just Eli Mitchell churn out another 5 yards. All righty. And then another motion with Juszczyk, and then we're going to motion him back. Again, just, hey, constantly see, can we get those bodies shifting one way or another to the advantage that we want? And I could be wrong. Actually, this may be the run. But this is an example here where, once again, we're flying and we're responding to every movement that the offense does. Even Rhodes is coming in. You've got the little slide route from Debo here. And then you've also got Juszczyk who can lead up. And sure enough, we get that play action where, I mean, this is what we're talking about. Look at where the linebackers and Rhodes are. This is your target man. This is Debo. Or excuse me, not Debo. This may be Ayuk. And then you've got your safety down over here. Darius Leonard, all-star linebackers, playing this backside. Kwity Paye's washed down. Buckner's trying to get over back. Rhodes is not in position. You've got the back door sealed by Eli Mitchell. And then watch as we just gash him again. This is the nasty stuff, too. I understand, Cornelius, you're saying Alex Mack and Tomlinson are no longer. Absolutely. And I'm not here to Alex Mack should be a Hall of Famer. Obviously, Tomlinson, very good player. But Spencer Burford, I'm not telling you he's exactly Tomlinson, but has had out of UT, Texas San Antonio has had very good reviews. So I anticipate seeing decent play out of him. And then Jake Brendel, we're certainly going to see what happens. But this is that nasty play here. I mean, this is just the example where they're going to run this fake little counter. Fake it here. And then we're going to end up coming back out. And now you have 3 blockers coming around on the end around for Ayuk. Let's watch how the defense responds to this. Sure enough, they're trying to – and at this point, they feel like they're getting gashed. I mean, look how many bodies you have up. You've got all 10 in the box sitting here trying to respond to it. But you can put as many bodies in the box as you want. If you're undisciplined, flying one way, getting out of the lanes, then you're going to get gashed. I don't care how many you bring there. And sure enough, here we see it here where, I mean, again, just let's look at the defense. And I get it. You have to respond to what you're seeing. But so they're all flying here, reading here. He's really trying to eye back and see is Mitchell getting the ball. You've got more here. But then by that time, let's look at it and see. I mean, at this point, yes, I understand most of the Colts defense is getting back. But we've got a full head of steam with Mitchell, Juszczyk, and Ayuk there to come in and block this up. And Kenny Moore just being a bad man and flips him. But another good example of it. Cans. And then this is what we talk about. One, you got to tackle. But this is what I get it. Like, oh, the Bears are going to win. I hope they win. But I'm just saying, do not underestimate this 49ers offense and the way that they're just able to punish defenses. This is the exact defense that they're going to see. And you're going to end up seeing after this play. I mean, this is Eli Mitchell just bashing them. And Derek's saying confusing on film. Real time is probably going to say, oh, yeah, absolutely. When they're moving so many bodies around and can. You can't. Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? Like, they going left or they going right? Did they just change the new play? I mean, they got one guy going here, one guy going. It's a mess. 49ers do have yes and no. It's Jeremy to answer your question real quick. So it's Trent Williams, Daniel Brunskill, or Aaron Banks, then Jake Brendel, then Spencer Burford, then Mike McGlinchey. Aldo, thank you so much for popping in. As we go along here, you get more of this film. Let me scooch it back. Work on my pen here, and occasionally gets lost. So this is the play here where they're just gashing this defense. And this is the point where they've had no trouble moving the ball at this point. And then once again, now you're seeing Jawan Jennings fly across the film. We've got your offset tight end that can also fill up in split zone here. So tons of moving pieces, and the whole thing is just continue to watch these linebackers as they over pursue in this first drive. You're motioning Jawan Jennings back over. Here's that split zone where now I've got him leading up. You've got the deception here where, look at it. And this is where you can see in real time, they're trying to work out the mathematic problem here. Darius Leonard starts moving, but is still keeping his eyes to try to come back. Moore is telling him, no, hold off. I got it if it goes out here. You play backside. And so what ends up happening as we go through. But at this point, that hesitation from Darius Leonard has him caught up by a center. And everybody's getting their blocks. And 91 isn't able to make a play on Mitchell. And now I've got Juszczyk leading up. Thank you. And once again, just gashing them. So that is your first drive. I show you that to say, I understand we all want to say that this San Francisco 49ers offense with Trey Lance, they have some learning to do. I certainly think it's going to be rough, but I want to be very clear. Everything I just showed you there has very, 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 very little to do with Trey Lance. And it has everything to do with Eli Mitchell and an offensive line that's coached up by the son of the godfather of this scheme, from Mike down to Gary, down to Kyle, down to the LaFleurs, down to the McVays. It's throughout the league now, but Kyle teaches it as well as anybody. His dad is the godfather. So if you're looking at this, understand that this is an offense that, by all means, I just showed you an entire drive. And yes, it's the first drive. Yes, they're getting learned up. But you can't afford to give up 7 points in rapid succession that easily. And that, Derek, you're absolutely right. We do have to have look, the good news is they won this game. It was a nasty game, tons of turnovers, rainy. But you'll actually, and this is the positive when I show you this, you're going to see the Colts actually tighten down on this and really kind of get their rules right to stop it. This is a play later on in the game that I had captured, and it was just an example of how this Colts D can capitalize. This is Jimmy, and Jimmy's, I don't want to make it sound like Jimmy's a top 5 quarterback, but he's obviously going to see the game a little better than Trey Lance. This is an example where if you want to talk about how Trey Lance can end up being caught in a bad spot, you're going to see it here where they're just playing their typical zone, and then you're going to see what becomes a rat in the hole here. I believe it's Okereke that comes over here and tries to rob a route here in the middle, and this being Smith or Morrow could become an interception with Lance playing ball if he doesn't read this right. See, and so this is where they're playing that play action, linebackers and everything are responding to it. But watch, this is where Jimmy is so used to at this point that they're going to go, that Okereke stays here and is here to rob this route coming over the top. And misses it because it's a crappy weather game. But that's an example of how those rats in the holes, those low-hanging zones can ultimately cut off some of those crossers. All right, and then let's wrap up here a bit as we go through rapid succession of the next few plays, and then we'll get on out of here. All right. This is the second drive, first play. This is, again, so what you're going to see here is really appreciated this play. A little fake zone or fake counter, and then they end up coming back here. And this is probably the last play of the Colts D really looking out of sorts. But you're going to see an example where they end up flying, and I may have the directions wrong, but they end up flying and over pursuing, and it gets them caught in trouble. So, again, if we could focus on anything, focus on these linebackers. There's that little counter step. Sif zone comes up here. They're going to leave this guy out because Mitchell cuts it out wide enough that he can't even get to the play in time. Dwelle comes up, use checks up here, and we get into this position where you can cut it up. Watch these linebackers. All right, moving through. Chris, you're saying you're glad we're playing in week 1. Yes, me too. All right, real quick. I mean, this is Swifty's here. Swifty's been talking about this a lot, so we'll kind of show this up. But this is so much of the concern about Debo coming in the back. Debo actually motions here. And then as I get the play going, motions into the backfield. And then I just want to show you a good run fit here. And this is where Kyler Gordon, if I'm not telling you Kyler Gordon is Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore is the best nickel in the game. But if your nickel and Kyler Gordon can play like this, and he's got enough strength, can literally bench press Ayuk. You're going to watch this contact point right here. This is what shuts down the play because they run this little Debo screen where he comes out here, lead blocker here, lead blocker here, lead blocker here. And watch Kenny Moore as he completely bench presses Ayuk and destroys this play on the boundary. Right there. Get off of me. And now I just threw your blocker into your back, Debo, and you're not going anywhere, and we rallied at the tackle. Okay. Another one. Sounding like DJ Khaled over here. Play action pass, Weigel flood, 58 closes Debo cross. Yeah, I mean, so let's watch Okereke, and Okereke doesn't get enough love. Okereke was amazingly solid in this scheme. Okereke is right here. This is another one of those play actions. Watch as this defense has gotten more disciplined over the play. So as they're flying here, yes, they're taking their read step, but this is the power of Okereke. Watch him read. Watch him read this Debo crosser, feeling it with the eyes in the back of his head, and roll over the top on it. It really closes the door for Jimmy, and he can't go anywhere and has to dirt the ball. An example of starting to get used to what you're seeing there in that play action and responding to it the right way. Now, this is an example of Xavier Rhodes, who has no problem, but wanted to show this because this is just another example of play action Debo crosser. So what you're going to end up seeing here is just what you're trying to look for is Debo's going to come across here. You're going to get this play action where they roll out the back, and Leonard actually plays it correctly. This guy over here is Xavier Rhodes, doesn't close it correctly. You're going to see that in the TV copy here in just a second. So as we go here, to show you what to expect. I mean, but let me pause there. I have to show you. Look at how the linebackers have been beaten into submission with this play action. Watch how they respond right now to this. Look at their motion. Little read step, but we're not gaining depth. We're not charging upfield. We're waiting to see. We're handling our gaps and our responsibilities. We're not biting. And then this, as I said, it's good defense. It just ends up being Xavier Rhodes not closing on it quick enough. And Debo ends up cutting it up. And so you're going to see Samuel work the crosser here. And Rhodes doesn't close it quick enough. All righty, moving to our last plays here. This just wanted to highlight this because this is a little bit of a different look. You'll see this out of a lot of odd front teams that run this penny look. Penny just essentially being a 5-1 front. You have one linebacker here, and then you've got 5 pressures to try and get one-on-ones on the edge to try and force a one-on-one matchup to get pressure. And so what you end up seeing here is this is that penny front, and they're going to actually send the mic, and they're going to drop this will into the low zone. And you're going to see how this plays out. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to do multiple things here. And I wanted to show this as we back up a little bit. As I get discombobulated. So as we show this penny front, hello film, stop showing. Pause it. All right, so as they're sending pretty nice amount of pressure here, they're blitzing a Okereke off the top. This is the power of Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard ends up dropping here in the low zone, but ends up seeing Hasty come out and ends up trailing it. And, I mean, there's a little bit of a push here. So, and this is, again, that sleek surface of the rain. But a good job here where, look, the pressure's there enough and everybody's manned up to where you've got enough pressure bearing down. Jimmy takes the one-on-one route. Right as Leonard pushes him there, he falls over essentially a couple steps later and the play's over. Okay. And then moving along. Thank you, Chris, for tuning in. I appreciate that. Debo runs like Adrian Peterson hard. Yes, he does. Very curious how much Alan Williams brings from Leslie Frazier that changes it. We'll certainly see. Okay. And then, Chris, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful evening, mate. I appreciate it. Okay. And then as we go here, what do we have? Play action, pass, pre-snap motion. So they're going to end up motioning. Kyle Juszczyk here into I formation. But really, if I could show you a couple things, and yes, it's a play action pass, but if there's one thing that you're looking at, please focus on the linebackers. Again, this is second quarter. This is the start of the second quarter. So this isn't even, third quarter they've been beaten by it. There was that one first drive where they got destroyed. And then watch how these linebackers respond to this play action. They're responding to the motion, trying to match it up. DBs are coming down. And watch how they play this. I mean, you've got the split zone coming across. You've got Kyle. You've got the running back looking like he can come up here. But it's all just a play action. And watch how those linebackers are responding to it. They're not chasing. They're not coming upfield. They're remaining and keeping depth. They're taking their read steps, trying to see it through. And then look at this where none of them have bit. So they're all in position to make a play. And it creates a problem for Jimmy G and as what will be Trey Lance. Because at this point, you've got all your linebackers that in an area where they'd be over pursuing, you don't have to fit this in so tight. And good coverage by the DB, but you'd have all this extra space to work with if they weren't playing discipline. So this is a perfect example. We're running it back full speed for you so that you can really see how well the defense is adjusting and playing it. Nick, sorry, just seeing you tune in. Jeremy, I appreciate it. We're just breaking down, and you'll have this on demand, but keys to victory on how this Bears team can beat the 49ers, showing how this Kyle Shanahan offense operates, how the Eberflus defense fared against it, and then earlier showing how a Green Bay offense, how the defense of the 49ers played against a Green Bay-style offense in week 3 of last year. All righty, fourth drive, third play. Like this because it's just one of those Eberflus exotic stunts here to try and change things up. Well, I shouldn't say exotic. It's not so crazy, but so this is Sanu, and you're going to end up seeing they like to motion him in and then motion him back here so it becomes a split back. And then what you're really going to want to what I want to show you here is this stunt and this pressure is what gets, and people were saying earlier they don't have Mack, they don't have Tomlinson anymore. Great. So if we start incorporating some of this, if this is beating Mack and Tomlinson, I'd imagine that we could see some of this with a new interior offensive line with just a simple, you can hear this called TAN, which is tackle above the nose, a nut stunt, nose under tackle. Typically you also, and this is really just the easiest way to call it, is just a TNT stunt. So it's tackle and tackle. And so what you're going to end up seeing here is in every zone or in every stunt, every game, line game, you're going to have a penetrator and then you're going to have a looper. In this one, he penetrates in, Buckner comes around, and they actually get so flustered by Buckner that I believe this is Stewart, or maybe it's Tyquan Lewis, gets up and completely wrecks this. So just want to kind of show you how this simple line game totally disrupts this play. Oops. pause it in between, and then we'll play at full speed so you can see it. So here's this example where, you can even tell they're rushing a little timidly. But then here's that penetration where he comes and he creeps over. And watch what this does to this offense, where now Buckner is here to essentially contain. If Trey Lance were to step up, sure, Buckner's here. But Lewis has done such a good job here that he's all up in Jimmy's grill just off of that simple stunt. And it's an air ball. So just beautiful. And then let's back out here. And then I put this one in there a little bit just for me. I have to be honest. I have to be a little bit self-serving, because if you want to hear anything about kind of how I care about defense, and as you can see, I've literally labeled this Okereke cares, and big explanation on cares, about FTR. What is FTR? Fitting the run. This is, look, they want to go this 3x1. You have your X out here, this little bunch package here. Let's try and get these out, and then let's see if we can run it right up the gut. Watch how, and let me clear this for you. Watch how Okereke fits the run. Watch him blow this up. I can't tell you how much I admire Okereke. I love his play. I'm watching enough Colts film now at this point. Such a killer Mike, and he is essentially what is the Moro to this new Bears scheme. And so really what you want to see here is I tell you this because if we're talking about keys to victory, we all talk about Trey Lance, force him to pass, put a spy on him, don't let him run. Well, that's the whole point. This offense, the bedrock, the foundation of it, is can we run the ball and then open up all of the explosive passing plays? And if you want a key to victory, you need your linebackers to fit the run. And so watch Okereke here as he just completely shits all over this play. Little motion to Debo. Nope. And you can see it in the slow-mo here. They're going to motion Debo across to try and get some motion in those linebackers. Again, I'll show you that here because I just think it's important. You can flash Debo eye candy at us, and sure, we'll respond a little bit. But at this point, if it's flashing, that's the job of your will to fill it, to spill and fill. But then watch where, you've got 60 Daniel Brunskill trying to fit up here and doesn't account for Okereke, who's just going to completely wrong arm and blow it up here. Just exactly what we want to see ultimately. All right, getting to the end here so that we can get to questions and kind of wrap this up. Final play. 6th drive, play 3. All right, so this is just your standard cover 3. Deep zone here, deep zone here. You have a center fielder, and then you actually, what you end up getting is, let's see, this rat in the hole. So this is another one where they're showing pressure. Trey Lance is, if Alan Williams is running this anyway like Eberflus would, you're talking about a scenario where you're going to have the situation where he's got to ID potential threats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And potentially you could send this nickel. So you're talking about worrying about potentially 8 men coming if they wanted to go all out, which obviously isn't always that likely. But an example here where you're going to see Leonard, let's kind of point him out because Leonard, look, reason he's a $100 million man. Watch him use this robot technique to ultimately play back on Debo here on the crosser. And they understand this is 3rd and 12. Can't let them there. So you're going to have your corner zone up here. But this is, look, Leonard has to show that he's coming. And then his ability to robot and just understand that there's probably a crosser coming, reading the eyes of the quarterback. And essentially putting those eyes in the back of his head. It just ends up being a beautiful play. So let's clear it. You can watch it. And now look at it. It literally looks like they're sending the whole house. And they actually end up sending Kenny. Look at him sneaking down the nickel corner, sneaking behind the DN's butt, trying to make sure that Jimmy doesn't account for him. and then it's off to the races. I mean, you are betting on your defense, and you're betting on Leonard. And in this case, that would be Roquan Smith. Can he get back in time to take care of this? And let's show you. Still a play, but we don't get the first down. And oh, by the way, this is the Peanut Punch Shaq Leonard special. I'd love to see this. You want to talk about if another key to victory, going to need to see a couple turnovers. Watch Leonard here coming in with that fist. Boom. Ball out. And, of course, hits principle, smart situational football, balls on the ground, fly to it. You can see the rain just pouring down there. All right. So that concludes, let me stop sharing. That concludes the film for today. I apologize if I haven't been able to attend to the chat as much as I'd like. Let me get to your questions. And of course, at this point, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I hope that's been insightful. And I'll try to touch briefly on kind of the things we saw in that film and just really the keys to victory to get this Bears team to a win. And as Nick is saying here, you'd absolutely love to come out with a dominant win, but I'm not trying to set your hopes high. You forget how good the 49ers team is ever. Yes, I mean, Nick, I'd be the first to say it. I think that they are an incredibly talented team, and there's a reason why. I'm not telling you, I don't think it's this 49ers team is going to be Super Bowl contender the way that they had it with Garoppolo. I think it's going to be rough, choppy waters. But this is, I mean, not that you're asking about 49ers on what to expect, but if we're being honest, what they are swapping in is a steady Eddie quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo who understands the timing and is going to be always hitting the right guy. But you don't get any of the explosive plays from amazing arm or dropping the arm talent, going 60 yards in the arm angle. They are taking the consistent Jimmy Garoppolo play for Trey Lance, who's coming in there, who is much more of a threat on the ground, is a physical force, can be the best athlete on the field, and then also has the ability to drive a ball 70 yards in the air if he reads it correctly. And that is what Kyle Shanahan and this team invested 3 first-round picks on, is they are taking a bet that we can coach this guy up to play that perfect, always choosing the right option of Jimmy. But then when there's an alert, he has enough confidence in his arm to really fit it in. Chris, you're still here. I appreciate it. You're saying no way 24-21. Swift, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was enjoyable. Chris, you're having to lose week 1. Brisker will be waiting for him to come around. And Brisker, Tony, I mean, Brisker is certainly one thing I didn't talk too much about, but in that Eberflus film, a lot of it was middle of the field close with Kari Willis, who's now retired, coming down. Kari Willis and Andrew Sendejo in that scheme were playing the Brisker role where that is going to be imperative. I guarantee you, I don't feel, I'm not a bettor, I'm not Tooch, but I don't feel this way about everything. But if you want me to bet with certainty about one thing, I think you're going to see a ton of middle of the field closed, 8-man boxes, bringing that safety down in the box, especially on those early downs. Okay. And then, Jeremy, you were saying, how much do I think Alan Williams' previous influence can change Eberflus's defensive scheme? I mean, the thing is I certainly think it's Alan Williams' defense, Jeremy, and I don't want to discount that. I think it's certainly got his flavor to it, but I also really believe that Eberflus is a guy that he hired the staff that he wanted to run the defense the way he thinks the defense should be run. And there's all that continuity from them playing or coaching together in Indianapolis to where I don't think you're going to see as much of a deviation in the Alan Williams defense to what Eberflus does. It's the reason why I felt comfortable showing you what was going on essentially in that. So as we kind of move along here, let's back here and let's see. Okay, fun stuff. Apologies, my computer has decided to bug just a bit. Just a second. Okay. All right. And then moving along. How confident am I that the linebackers are playing discipline outside of Roquan? I mean, look, Jeremy, if you're asking me, I think that in this situation, I expect that the Bears linebackers will probably get gashed a little bit early. It's the first game of the season. I think that you're still getting your feet under you. Roquan Smith obviously joined camp late. They're still learning how to play together. I certainly think that you're going to see a lot of those issues biting on play action a little bit more. That certainly could be a real area where they struggle, but I tend to believe that is something that Eberflus and Alan Williams are aware of that hurt them so bad in this game last year. And I think that they're going to absolutely hammer home. That is a key core tenet and principle of this defense is you cannot bite on the play action. You have to be disciplined. And it's what the Colts showed throughout the time that Eberflus was there. And I anticipate that, one, it's going to be hammered home, but I also think, yes, you're inherently going to catch some of those where it's going to hurt them. But I also expect this team to be able to adjust mid-game to those and fix it up. All right. And then, Swifty, you're asking me to give a prediction. I will – you're asking for the hard one. I will hold that to the end if you don't mind. And I will go ahead and give you a prediction. But admittedly, I have to give a little bit of time to think about it because I honestly see this game going both ways. A lot of running by San Francisco. Yeah, Derek, I certainly think there will be. They are going to try and incubate their young quarterback as well for success. Seeing a low-scoring game, Jeremy, on the fence, think it will come down to a late field goal. I mean, you guys are going to – but mixed with Swifty's question about my prediction, I am seeing a game that ends up being 21-17, 20-17. I tend to agree with you there, Jeremy, that I think it's going to be a situation where it's going to be tight. Is it possible that Trey Lance throws for 150 yards and has 5 total touchdowns? Absolutely. But I think that it's a quarterback on both sides that are still trying to get their feet wet within their new systems and respective situations. I give a tiny bit of an edge to Justin Fields just simply because of the experience he had playing last year where Trey Lance hasn't played a ton of meaningful football in the last damn near 3 years. So I think that that's going to lend Kyle Shanahan to spam all of the easy buttons for Trey. But I wish that Bears fans would understand this. Do not underestimate what that offense can do because, I mean, just go look at Trey Lance in preseason last year. Go look at Trey Lance in preseason. I mean, I know you can look at Trey Lance in preseason this year and it didn't look beautiful. But understand that, okay, it didn't look beautiful, so Kyle's going to scale it back. And you're going to ask, what does scale it back look like? Look no further than Trey Lance's first preseason game last year where he's hitting Trent Sherfield on one of those deep crossers and it just goes to the house. So I think that they're going to try and spam as much of those easy buttons as possible for this offense. All right. And then you're saying we don't have a Debo in our offense. Do you see us using someone to fill that role? And who, or do we just not have that guy yet? I don't think you have that guy yet. I think that, I mean, Swift's here, and Swift and I, we talked about it back when he was drafted. I think Velus Jones was drafted to be that guy. I don't think I hate the whole, like, he's Debo. Nobody's Debo. Debo's a very special player. But I think that Velus was drafted to be the Joker role. And in many ways, Debo is playing that Joker role. It's what Lynn Bowden was drafted to the Raiders to be a Joker role. It's why he's been in Miami until just recently. The Patriots are moving more to this zone scheme. They picked up Lynn Bowden. Lynn Bowden is the guy, and Aaron Current's not here, but big Kentucky fan. He'll tell you all about Lynn Bowden. Lynn Bowden is the guy that I predicted Velus Jones to comp most closely to. Velus is out, so I don't think you have that guy. But I don't think that they need that Debo-esque player, the guy that's in the backfield taking sweeps and handoffs just yet. It's week 1. I anticipate it's going to be relatively vanilla. Can we run the ball? Can we get Cole Kmet and, Darnell on a couple of those crossers, maybe a couple wheel routes, a couple slot fades, but it's not going to be, the offense at the nth degree. I just don't see that happening. And then J-Rock saying, do I expect a lot of nickel defense? Yeah, I anticipate you're going to see a ton of nickel defense because I think that you're going to see a lot of 11 personnel from the 49ers. But I also think inherently with them running the ball, they're going to run a lot of 21, a lot of 12. And so you may see more of those linebackers. And in J-Rock, I assume you're asking that too because they cut Pennell and they cut Kamara yesterday. Swift had said it earlier. I tend to agree. Some of that could be procedural. A guy that's a vested veteran like Pennell can be cut and then re-signed at the same price. So maybe it's them trying to – I'll give you an example, and I'm not saying this is why, but, hey, we don't like, our wide receiver depth. So because Smith-Marset isn't ready to go, so we need to go pick up a wide receiver off the street, and then we'll sign Pennell back after the week. So I think that right now, while it looks like they're light at D-tackle, they may just be doing some procedural moves and then bringing more D-tackle talent to the roster. J2K, you're saying Vilder's going to get targeted a lot. I think he's playing well in his defense. Are you confident he can play well? That's a damn good question, Jeremy. I think Vildor is in a much better spot to play well this season. Swift will tell you we're in a fantasy league. I ran to the proverbial podium to draft Brandon Ayuk. The Brandon Ayuk stories out of camp this year have been George Pickens-esque. And so I certainly worry about Ayuk on Vildor. But what I think that they're going to hope is that they're going to try to put a roof on this offense. They're going to ask Eddie Jackson and Brisker and just sit there and play quarters and play with the top over him. And they're going to ask their rushers to get home and create pressure and hope that you can disrupt Trey Lance enough to where his accuracy – and that's one thing that I'll be fair about. He doesn't have incredible accuracy at the moment. His mechanics are a little So you're hoping to get him just off balance enough to just pressure him to where he doesn't feel confident enough to throw it to an Ayuk, for example, that may be on Vildor. So I think that they're going to try to cover Vildor's butt as much as possible. Juan, you're saying Gold's going to have most of their points. Sure. Roquan's hurting for some picks. It's turnover time. I like the optimism, Tony. I hope that's true. Swift, you're saying Bayless. Yes, as we said, Bayless is indeed that role. Jeremy Bayless isn't playing Austin, isn't she? Yeah, I mean, we'll see. You were saying you saw Equanimous on a sweep first piece. Yeah, I think, see, the funny thing to me is I want to see Dante Pettis more on those. Pettis is a guy that's got a jetpack strapped to his back. He's got some firecracker to him. So I think that he can really kind of show that speed that may be useful in those jet sweeps. But I certainly, don't get me wrong, I think you may see a couple end arounds, maybe a few jet sweeps, but it's going to be a lot of zone with a lot of pre-snap motion to help ID the coverage for Justin, to help identify the mic, get bodies moving a particular way. Let's move EQ or Dante Pettis across the formation. Then let's move Komet, can, Oscar, and then try to get this offense into the right spot. And this is where, I mean, as I said, I guess I gave you a score prediction. I didn't give you who I thought would win the game. I think that the Bears, oh, goddamn, this is hard. I think the Bears win 21-17. And the thing about that is, and I'm trying to remember now because I just got so thrown off by having to give you a score prediction. Ultimately, though, I think that this is where I was going. I think if I'm being negative about this Bears team versus this 49ers team is that something I don't think enough fans give enough credit to is Luke Getsy. Maybe he's the best offensive coordinator we've ever seen. I'm not ready to say that. I haven't seen enough. But just off of what we know, Kyle Shanahan is established. He's made it work with Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard and Matt Schaub. So I have no questions that he can make an offense work for damn near any quarterback. And at the end of the day, we'll see what Luke Getsy is, but right now I have to call a spade a spade. The Bears are trying to run the Kirkland or Diet Coke brand of what San Francisco is running. San Francisco is the OG of this offense. And so if I have to take a bet on who's going to get more creativity and who's going to get more options out of their offense, and we're using this different motion and end arounds and Debo, and yeah, it's going to be the Niners, which is where I think that you're hoping and betting that Justin Fields is going to be the differentiating factor. His experience versus Trey Lance. Trey Lance gets bit and snake bitten into doing a few stupid things that caused some mistakes by this Eberflus and Alan Williams defense. But it's going to be a tight game. I don't think it's going to be easy. Jeremy, you're saying, do I think I see Brisker playing all over the field? No, I think he's going to be playing all over the field. I think that you're going to see a ton of 8-man in the box, middle of the field closed. Brisker's going to be the guy coming down early downs. But I also think you're absolutely going to see him playing deep in quarters on those third and longs. You're going to see him coming down and playing cover 3 buzz weak, robbing and buzzing down low in the low hole. Brister's going to be all over the place. And that's another one I feel very confident about. No questions there. Chris, you're saying Bear. Yeah, Chris, I can't be a Bears fan and then be like, well, they're going to lose. Although I will tell you, just to rile people up, at least as it stands right now, there's no way in hell I'm picking the Bears to beat the Bills in December if it looks like the way it did this week. The Bills are going to beat the dog shit out of the Bears if it keeps going the way it does. If I'm going to guess who's going to get an interception, it's Vildor. He'll get targeted a lot. Certainly, Jeremy. It could be a situation. And then I got to ask you, Jeremy, you can message me on Twitter, but I just think I should kind of put out here. I saw you saying you're from California. Where in California are you located? You were saying you have taco shops all over the place. I'm in South Orange County, so I have quite a few Mexican places around me myself. Don Burr, Detroit versus Don, thank you for joining. You missed all the film where, I know you like to razz me and say I don't know football, but I think we went over all the film earlier, and I think that, I guess, ask the audience if they thought it was good content that was easy to understand and glean and get insight from. Oh, Jeremy's saying from San Diego, I got you. Do I see special teams having a hand on the scale for? Yeah, Juan, I think special teams are always important. Robbie Gould is gold. He is as good as it gets. And then, Wishnowski's their punter. I think that at the end of the day, if there's going to be a change in, or special teams is going to have a hand on the outcome, I think it's going to be in relation to weather. If it is indeed inclement weather where, hey, it's, there's rain and things of that sort, who's going to handle that situation better? J-Rock, you're saying Ward, Mosley, and Womack don't scare. Well, everybody sees the game differently. You're entitled to your opinion. I think Charvarius Ward's a very good corner who doesn't get a lot of credit. And I think Mosley's fine. And then Jimmy Ward is actually out, so I guess you have that benefit. And then, Tony, you're saying we have to get pressure at the front four, the less you have to blitz. But yeah, absolutely. That's what this defense is built around, is if we're going to be sending 4 every time in an even front, we need those guys to get home. Okay. Well, I will give you all a few minutes if you have anything else that you'd like to get off your chest, want to talk about, want to ask. I did say, I guess I'll ramble a little bit and give you time to answer questions, but I did say I'd kind of give you my keys to the game. As Eric says, Robbie Gould's as good as it gets. Yes. Keys to the game, I think that you're going to have to focus in on Nick Bosa and stop him. I think that the ways that you can do that is, one, you got to get the ball out quick. This is where I believe safeties are so much more important than edges, and I know that's a controversial take, but we've all watched it with Khalil Mack and other edges throughout the game. I can run away from an edge. I can throw screens. I can, run play action away from him. I can boot out away from him. I can double him. So I understand that Nick Bosa can wreck anybody. Really, it's a corny joke, but he is Joey Bosa but angry. That's really what it is. He plays like a more aggressive, angrier version of Joey Bosa, and so to me, he can absolutely wreck any offensive line. But I certainly think that you have a situation where there's enough that you can do to not worry about him. I'm actually more worried about the other guys because I think that the Bears are going to give Braxton plenty of help. You've heard that from Ryan Poole's understanding. He understands how big of a test Braxton has. They're going to play a lot of 12-13 personnel where you have Cole Kmet chipping and then exiting as an outlet option. You're going to play action running away from him. So then the real question becomes, is it going to come down to guys like Charles Omenihu or Samson Ebukam or Eric Armstead? And the 49ers under D'Amico Ryans, I don't know how much you'll see of this because it's early on in the season, but they get into some real unique personnel fronts where they'll put Armstead and Bosa on the same side. They'll put Kinlaw and Armstead on one side to just really kind of clog it up, and then put both speed guys, Ebukam and Bosa, on one side. They'll do unique things like that to really scheme up one-on-one opportunities to create pressure. So you got to deal with Nick Bosa in that front. You got to throw the ball quick, line up in heavy personnel, chip them, boot away from them, throw screens, run the ball consistently, punish them, force patience. I showed you all a play in the Green Bay game where they ran that halfback screen and all those San Francisco 49ers defenders were rushing. Force them to be patient. Punish them for being so aggressive, and I think that's how you can beat that. In addition to that, understanding and using a lot of pre-snap motion to identify coverage and help solidify protection for Justin Fields by using that motion to see who may be coming hot, what type of coverage they're running. Is it man? Is it zone? I also think that in many ways, if I'm going to tell you that Kyle Shanahan needs to spam the easy button for Trey Lance, I certainly think that the Luke Getsy and the Bears need to spam the easy buttons for Justin Fields. Run Monty hard, run Herbert. I'd love to see a little bit of zone read from Justin Fields. I think that you can use all of those, spam the easy, the crossers, the levels, the flood routes, play action pass waggles, to just really you're creating half field reads for Justin to exploit and expose some easier options for him. Having Mooney on a crosser, having the outlet to commit, maybe having EQ on the alert to where if Justin Fields feels confident, he can lob it up to the big 6'5" receiver. So I think those are really the ways to scheme it up on offense to get this Bears team to a victory. And then as far as defense, play discipline, have good eye discipline. Do not chase out and charge up field. Keep good depth. Take your read steps. Make sure that you're not biting on play action pass. Fit the run. That is the one thing, is you want to make sure that Trey Lance isn't going to kill you and expose you for big plays in the air. Fit the run. That is really what it's going to take, because if they start gashing you and you have to bring that safety up, and then we've got Eddie Jackson in conflict where he's got Ayuk going one way and Debo going the others, and you've got a Spears concept where pick one, Eddie, and we're going the opposite one and forcing you to be wrong. So you got to fit the run. You have to sit there and be patient and have good eye discipline with all the different moving parts that Kyle's going to throw at you. And then I think that they have to get home. If we want to talk about the San Francisco 49ers and what they're hoping to do to Justin Fields to disrupt this game and get a win, it's only fair to say the same thing. You have to find a way to expose that offensive line and make Trey Lance uncomfortable. And I think that the one good thing I would say about that is I guess I'll give you one thing. I wouldn't bet $1 that Robert Quinn has any real effect in this game. Trent Williams is just that dude. He is him. He shuts down everybody. Trent Williams put Robert Quinn in a box last year. And so I don't anticipate Robert Quinn's going to be a thing, but if that's the case, that's fine. Can your other three guys, Gibson, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Justin Jones, can those guys wreak havoc in that offensive line, particularly the interior with Aaron Banks and Burford and Brendel? Can they make enough of an impact to disrupt and make Trey Lance uncomfortable? Okay, and then Thomas Gage, Brisker is going to be a key cog in this defense. And yeah, I do too. I certainly think, to tell you what, I'm not a betting man, but like if you want to throw a bet, I'm sure the odds are really bad and the safety's not won it. But and that's what I'm saying. It's probably not the wisest bet because the safety's not won it. But if there was a guy that I felt comfortable about just taking a low odds chance of winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, it'd be Brisker. I think he's going to be starting all games, and that'll be more than other safeties in his class. With I think the only other guy that comes to mind is like Lewis Seen. But even then, you talk about Dax Hill's not starting because Jesse Bates is there. I guess Jalen Petrie is starting in Houston, so that's another one. But I love Brisker. I was very excited about the pick when it happened. You're saying you really hope to see the beginning of a superstar Fields. Yeah, we'll see. I don't want to make this too much of a thing. I find it interesting though when they talk to Justin, and he always says, some games I just know I'm going to play well because I feel like I'm in a mood. I feel like I'm there. I'm in the zone. And other times he hasn't directly said like I wasn't in it that game. It's not like he's using it as an excuse. But this is the thing I think we often as fans don't consider is many of these athletes, and I see it this way in like boxing or the UFC or fighting, but it applies to basketball or baseball, or in this case, football is really not too much different than fighting. With baseball or basketball, you get so many opportunities to show up and be good. In football, you get 17 days of the year to show that you were ready. And we're all people. We understand sometimes you don't get a good night of sleep. Sometimes you have stress from other things going on, emotions. I don't know, you're depressed, things of that sort. So I certainly think part of what you're saying there, Jeremy, is I hope he turns into a star too. I think that a lot of that, though, is him feeling like he's in the zone. He needs to feel confident that he knows the plays. He can adjust to things on the fly that are maybe not going his way. And I think, the good news is, if I can give one sense of solace, I have no doubt in my mind that this Bears offense is built with him in mind and meant to put training wheels on him to make sure it's relatively easy. As opposed to last year when it was very clear that Nagy had zero sense of how to protect a young quarterback and groom him up. And I think that's a situation where I look at it and think Justin Fields has all the potential in the world to show up. Jeremy, you're saying, Gibson's going to rotate a lot in this game. I thought it was interesting that he played so much in preseason. I think that they're just trying to get him reps, and I think that he is a guy that's had to go from playing down in the dirt to having to practice how to be in a 2-point stance and play linebacker in coverage for 2 years. And I think now he's having to sit there and try to put his hand in the dirt. And Chris, you're exactly right. Yeah, I mean, humans just like all of us. Jeremy, you were saying, does Quinn ball out in this game? Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. I think Quinn is a non-factor. I think Quinn gets completely shut down. So yeah, I don't necessarily think that's it's viable. Okay, any final questions, concerns, comments, anything that you'd like to talk about or get off your chest? I appreciate you all hanging with me. I was originally supposed to go an hour. We're now 2 hours in. That's okay. We'll make it work. So I'll give it like 90 seconds to filter through your final things, then we'll get on out of here. J-Rock, you're saying who's a better Travarius Ward or Jalen? I'll give you Jalen, but I really like Travarius Ward. I think that I understand as Bears fans, we don't watch a lot of other games. I guess I'll kindly ask you to give me the benefit of the doubt. And I hope I've shown you through the time of doing the show so far that I watch a lot of football. I don't just watch Bears football. Travarius Ward's a very, very good corner that didn't get a lot of love because Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Jones and Frank Clark and all these other guys were on the defense. But Travarius Ward was their standout guy. And that's a situation where, they lost him. And you don't even see San Francisco often spend a lot of money in free agencies, particularly on defensive guys or corner. And this is the first time they've really spent a ton of money on corner. And all the reports are that they trust him. He's their star defender in the back end. They've got him so that they weren't, fucking around with Josh Norman and Mosley and Dante Johnson. And they literally signed Travarius Ward to be their guy. And the reports are that he's balling out and they're trusting him in man to just lock dudes up. So I think Jalen Johnson's a good player, but I don't want to discount Travarius Ward. I think he's a very good player as well. Eberflus says the team focused on the right things with the added emphasis. Yeah, Cornelius, I certainly think that's an optimistic way to see it, but I also agree. Eric, you're saying unreasonable to expect a big game from Watts today. You're saying today, so tomorrow. No, I don't know if it's unreasonable. I think that he'll certainly get some rotation. And I mean, that's what I'll give you an example. What you really want in this scheme is if you're going to have this even front where you have, 4 down linemen, the ideal, the dream, the pie in the sky view is kind of what Buffalo has. It's what the Giants had back when. Can we have kind of like a hockey rush lane where we've got multiple waves of defenders on the defensive line that can come in fresh and get after it? And I think that they're not there yet, but I think to answer your question, Eric, that's what I would imagine Watts' role is going to be is, hey, Justin, come on out. Watts, you're fresh. Justin, get a breather. Watts, go in. Fuck up the play. And I think that's what they're hoping to see. Darius, you're saying that's why Jalen wants to prove he's on the bet. Yeah, Jalen's got every reason to prove it. He's got a contract he's fighting for, too, in the next year. Thank you, Renewable. I appreciate it. Cracker Beer, enjoy this. Yes, I totally forgot Texas and Bama are playing. How's Quinn Ewers looking? And then Bijan Robinson, of course. Leo Factor, thoughts on the Bears stopping the 49ers run game? Who runs the ball more successfully? Tommy Toe Bears. I don't know the whole Tommy Toe, Leo, but thoughts on the Bears stopping the 49ers run game? I went over it extensively, but I think that it's going to require a lot of gap discipline. Oh, you said tomorrow. Got it. It's going to require a lot of gap discipline, linebackers not over pursuing, staying in their lanes, not biting on play action. I think that the 49ers run game is going to gash them a little bit. I'm going to be clear. I don't think this is, oh man, they held the 49ers run game to 30 yards. Not that type of game. I think that it'll probably be a 80 to 90 yard performance at the very least from Elijah Mitchell. I think that they're going to have some explosive runs, but it's about minimizing those, learning quickly from your mistakes, and then tightening it down with lock and key the way that you saw in that game that I did earlier about the Colts versus the Niners. Now, some of that had to do with the weather, but again, we're talking about the Chicago area may have some bad weather. That may help you kind of put lock and key on a team with a young quarterback. Hector, 31-14. I like it. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy college football. I am excited to watch the Bears as well as you all. If you aren't already following, please follow Barroom Network at Barroom Network on Twitter. Aldo, our president who was here earlier, Aldo Gandia at Barroom, Aldo Barkeeper on Twitter. And then I'm Jordan T. Silveira. You can see my little screen name there on Twitter. Feel free to tag along. I am doing a top 10 takeaways at the conclusion of every Chicago Bears game. So it's a long form 10 takeaways. I try to do it live as the game's going while still consuming the game so that it's there for your consumption as soon as the game concludes. Feel free to kind of follow me on Twitter, look it up there. I'll have it there for you tomorrow. In addition to what is always an amazing and busy slate here at Barroom Network. Tomorrow morning, we have the Fantasy Football Goon with, I believe, Joe Mandel and Tyler Ellis. I could be wrong. Barfly Tailgate, myself. Tooch is going to be on there tomorrow. Aaron Current, Chris Watts, KB, and Bobby Bombs will be there in the morning for your pregame show. Going to hear a lot about – I will do most of the shutting up because I've talked about it way too much today and given my insight. I'll let those gentlemen talk. But that'll be your pregame show. We'll be able to give score predictions, anything you want to talk about, keys to the game. You'll be able to hear great insight from Tooch, Bobby Bombs, Chris, etc. And then we will have the game. And then immediately after the game will be Danny Shimon and Tyler Ellis, big games report with Aldo covering Bear football right after the game. And so that will be our schedule tomorrow. Barflies, I love you all. Appreciate you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. And thank you so much as always. You have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.